In this section, we're going to discuss common errors that programmers make using selection statements. The first one is one that is represented visually, and humans can be easily deceived. What we have is a condition and two statements that need to be executed that follow it. When the condition is true, given the indentation, it appears that both statement 1 and statement 2 should be executed. But the compiler ignores indentation. It sees if condition statement 1, and if true, it will execute statement 1. If false, it will not execute statement 1. Statement 2 always is executed. If you want to execute multiple statements, always use the curly brace compound statement notation. Extraneous semicolons are difficult to debug. We have an if condition and then a semicolon. This semicolon represents an empty statement, so we have a syntactically correct condition. If condition, empty statement. If the condition is true, the empty statement is executed, doing nothing. If false, still does nothing. Either way, statement 1 is executed, whether the condition is true or false. This pitfall is not an error, but it shows a lack of understanding. A Boolean variable has type Boolean, value false or true. A condition need not test a Boolean variable against true or false. It should simply use the Boolean variable as the condition. So in this case, we would say if var statement. Dangling else is a logic error. If the compiler doesn't have a syntactical error with this, often a programmer will be surprised at the behavior of the code. This happens because we're fooled into thinking that indentation determines which if keyword the else keyword is associated with. In the example given, the mind is fooled by indentation of thinking statement 2 is the else or false path for the condition 1 test. However, it is not. The compiler will see it as if cond 2 statement 1, else statement 2. In other words, if condition 2 is false, then statement 2 will execute. And of course, this all assumes that condition 1 is true to go ahead and do the nested if. Boolean assignment is similar to the extraneous Boolean testing. There is no need to test a condition and then assign a Boolean variable. Simply assign var to the condition. Our code would say var assign condition. Floating point equality is a tricky issue. It's mathematical in nature. Our minds, having been trained by algebra, think numbers are equal, when in a computer they may not be. The problem is floating point numbers are approximations. Rarely are they exact. The difficulty arises when we believe that two numbers are going to be exactly represented and we compare them, as in the example. Integers don't suffer from this problem. They are exact representations as long as we keep them in range. 10.0 is divided by 3, and we all know that it's 0.333 continuing. The problem is we don't know exactly how many 3's to represent, so we can try multiple times to get it just right. But there is a chance that the division will result in 0.333 continuing 2 or 4 being the final digit because of rounding issues. Again, floating points are approximated in a computer. We can't determine the precise value of most floating point numbers. Here is the proper way to test floating point numbers. It's called the delta epsilon method. Epsilon being a very small value, delta being the difference of two numbers. So we define epsilon as 10 to the negative 14th power, very small. We use the math.abs for absolute value. In parens, we take either variable, subtract the other variable from it, and then compare that as less than epsilon. If so, they're close enough, we consider them equal. We would execute statement 1. If not close enough, we execute statement 2. Duplication of code is an easy mistake to make. It's not a syntax error. It's not a runtime error. It's not even a logic error. It's an inefficiency. In this situation, we have a condition where on the true path, we execute statement 1 followed by statement 3. On the false path, we execute statement 2 followed by statement 3. There's no need to code statement 3 twice. This correct approach is to take statement 3 out of both the true path and the false path, place it after this conditional construct so that we would have if condition statement 1, else statement 2, statement 3. Statement 3 always executes, so we would place it outside this as the sequentially next statement.